All right, this war in the Middle East is causing a lot of trouble, and it's not looking too good for Malaysia, one of my favorite places on the planet. Mr. Money TV dives into it here. Why U.S.-Iran war could destroy Malaysia. It's a bit extreme, so let's react together, see what he's talking about. This is not good, right? We're peace builders around here. We need to stop that. No more wars, man.
Israel unleashed a massive joint strike on Iran.
And we can't take it anymore.
The US and Israel launched a military strike against Iran on February of 28, 2026, and Iran's supreme leader died in that conflict. This is the second military operation by the US against another country this year. For many Malaysians here, it could feel like a tragedy that's happening millions of miles away in a world that doesn't even bother us. But I need you to listen to me very carefully. This war, it isn't going to stay in the Middle East. It's traveling right now, straight to Southeast Asia.
Yeah, this war, guys, it might seem like it's only going down in the middle of the world, but this is a global conflict. And one day we're going to look back in history, and they're going to say that World War III had already started long before this war was ever kicked off. This is not good. We really need to pay attention to this, and we need to come together and start advocating for peace and calling these evil leaders out, man. Like, everybody across the world thinks that it's just one country or another, but it's all of these big players at the top of these countries orchestrating this mess. And maybe not every single leader in every country, but a vast majority of them. And we got to call them out and start to stand together.
And straight into your pockets. Today, I'm going to explain to you how a geopolitical explosion on the other side of the planet is the reason you might need to say goodbye to your petrol subsidy in the near future.
Whoa,
and we are going to
subsidy?
uncover why your groceries may be getting more expensive in the near future and why the ringgit is under immense.
Luckily for Malaysia, you're in such a prime climate in the world. It's very humid, sure. But like, as far as like the sunshine, how many hours a day you get, and the rain, like, you're in a prime climate to grow a lot of food. So that's a very good thing. Even if you have to build greenhouses in order to control the humidity and get some of those products that you don't grow typically in the region, there is a benefit of that. So don't freak out too much about the food, but it is something to take into consideration because all things take time.
It's pressure. So today, this is not going to be a story about war and missiles, but a story about money, power, and your future.
All right. And I hate it when people just say it's the U.S.-Iran war. It is not the U.S.-Iran war. It's the Israeli-Iran war. And the U.S., for whatever reason, our leaders seem to do whatever the Israelis want them to do. The people of the United States do not agree with this. This is not something that we're okay with. But for whatever reason, they continuously get money from the Israelis and send our tax dollars to the Israelis. It's just like this sick cycle. And now we're going to war on their behalf. And it's not okay.
To understand what's happening right now, why the US attacked Iran, we have to look past the smoke and look at the engine that runs the global economy.
Sure we do.
Now, we're talking about the US dollar. You see, after World War II, America was the only major country with its economy still fully intact, and the world agreed that the international trade will happen in US dollars.
Sure.
But
Made
the
sense at the time.
master stroke of that happened in 1970s. The United States made a historical deal with Saudi Arabia, the world's largest oil producer. The deal was simple. Saudi will sell its oil exclusively in US dollar, and in exchange, America would provide weapons and military protection. Think about what that means. Oil is the only commodity that every single country needs. Every single day without exception. Every factory, every power plant, every cargo ship runs on it. So all the countries in the world needs it. So think about it. If a country like Japan, Germany, or Malaysia want to buy energy, we have to buy US dollar first in order for us to buy oil. So America essentially plays a toll booth at the entrance of the global economy. And this system is called the...
And again, it wasn't just America that did it. It was Americans and the Saudis that did it. And this was something that a lot of people all agreed on long before, right after World War II. So again, this is a collective malfunction. This isn't just the United States. We have to keep that in mind. This is just a big system meant to essentially enslave the population of the globe Yeah, we have to pay for our own food and shelter and everything like that now. We don't have like houses given to us anymore, but we're essentially thrown into this slave-like system where we all work to survive and not too much more than that. We're no longer thriving as a species.
Petrodollar system. Because the global oil market trades roughly 3 trillion USD worth of oil every single year, this created an enormous and permanent daily demand for US dollar. And because the whole world is forced to hold dollars, America gets a superpower. They can spend way more money than they can earn by borrowing. So year after year, the US government borrows money from the rest of the world by selling treasury bonds. And today, America's national debts stand in the mind-bending amount of 38 trillion US dollar. Just the interest payment alone is going to cost them nearly $1 trillion every year. And in order for this whole economic machine to continue running, the demand for US dollar must not stop. That's how important the petrodollar system is. What if the world stopped needing US dollar to buy oil? Now, if that demand decreases, it's going to be hard for America to borrow more money. And for America, they may find it hard to afford to pay its debt. And if their debt system collapses, the value of every treasury bond held by countries.
Yeah, see, like this is where the real problem lies. It's not necessarily that the United States has this huge debt burden. It's who owns this debt burden. Look at this chart right here. United Kingdom, Japan, like these countries hold so much of it. Look at the Cayman Islands, Canada. What is that? Ireland, Switzerland. It's a lot of Western countries, but again, you have Hong Kong, Taiwan, Singapore, South Korea. Like, this is really not looking good, guys. This is a global problem, and what are we going to do about it? We really have to come together and find a peaceful means to change this system, not continuously prop it up through war and all of these, industrial companies that build bombs and jets and stuff like that. It's just absurd. It's a house of cards.
Around the world will evaporate, and that could take the whole world economy down together with it.
Right.
So for decades, no one dared to challenge this petrodollar system. Until recently, a massive threat emerged. That is China. China is the world's largest oil importer. They started buying oil using its own currency, the Chinese yuan or renminbi. And by the end of 2025, China was importing a record of 1.2 billion barrels of oil from countries like Russia, Saudi Arabia, and Venezuela. And all this trade completely bypassed the US dollar. But China's most important partner in this financial rebellion was Iran. Iran was supplying nearly a tenth of China's entire oil needs.
Which is a lot more oil than many countries import or use in an entire year. Think about that. It might look small, a tenth, 15%. Like it's more than a lot of countries.
At a heavily discounted price. And every barrel of Iranian oil that reached China without touching the US dollar was a living proof that the petrodollar system could be defeated. So to the United States, this is a threat. In their eyes, it's going to be a nuclear-armed Iran backed by China and trading outside the US dollar system. This is going to be an untouchable anchor of a new alternative global economy. So America made a ruthless decision. Burn the pieces before the alternative system could be fully built. In January 3rd, 2026, when the US Delta Force helicopter flew into Venezuela, they went in there and dragged President Maduro and his wife out in handcuffs. After that, they targeted the next country, which is Iran.
See, and this is where things start to get sticky. Because, was Maduro a good guy? Absolutely not. Are the Venezuelan people a lot happier now that he's not in power? For sure. There are plenty of Venezuelans throughout the world who celebrated this act. Now, does that make it right? Does it make it wrong? It's like, who's to really say? But he wasn't doing good for the Venezuelan people either. So, was it justified? It had to happen. The world wasn't doing anything about it. The Chinese certainly didn't care because they were getting oil. And, since when do they stand up for, humanitarian rights? If you look at, the amount of people that they've killed over in the past 100 years. You know, it's this is where things get weird.
Iran. So on February 28th,
Gotta consider that guy.
the US and Israel launched a massive coordinated attack on Iran. Over 1,200 ammunition fell across the country, and Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was assassinated. In other words, the anchor to the petro-yuan system, it's disrupted. Immediately,
Right.
Iran retaliated by launching attacks on US bases and energy infrastructure across Middle East.
For sure.
So now the Middle East is at war. And how does this affect us all the way across in Malaysia? Well, it comes down to geography and supply chain. You see, right next to Iran is the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow water gateway is the jugular vein of the entire global economy, where 20% of the entire world's daily oil and gas supply pass through. And right now, because of conflict, over 200 oil and gas vessels are actually stuck there. Ships are taking a massive detour, adding weeks to their journey, and freight and insurance costs are exploding. And I heard that most of the insurance companies are refused to even selling them insurance. And without insurance, all the
Insurance companies are such a scam, guys. How many of you in the comments over here in chat, like, what do you feel about your insurance systems, huh? No matter what country you come from, it's a joke, right? You end up paying all this money in, and then when it comes time for you to get help from them, what happens? It takes months or years for you actually to get some kind of reimbursement for the damages that were caused because they try to wiggle their way out of the problem. Now, take that up to the level of an oil tanker. Imagine how much responsibility they want in a situation like that. These insurance companies are scammers. And you know, I like to call it the scammers of the world. They're scammers.
this oil cannot be delivered. So now, because of this chokehold, the global crude oil prices have skyrocketed from $65 a barrel to over $100.
And it's $100 on paper. But then if you look at like these guys who actually are purchasing this oil in person and are giving the money over and receiving oil, like the physical oil, they're paying $140 to $150 a barrel. So there's this gap between what is being sold in the market and what's being sold in reality. Now, what's going to happen when those two things like meet and like those barrels jump from $100 to $150 immediately, overnight, instantaneously? We're going to have a real big problem, guys. And again, remember, this isn't just oil for cars and gases and factories and stuff. This is like jet fuel and things like that.
In just weeks. To put it in short, oil is becoming so much more expensive. Now,
Right.
you might be thinking to yourself,
Wait, it's okay, right? Malaysia, we also make our own oil. We have Petronas. So if global oil price go up, shouldn't our country be making a good fortune because we get to sell oil at a higher price?
well, that's
exactly what people were trying to say to me when this all first started. Like, oh, Malaysians will be fine because we produce oil. Well, so does the American. Like, we supposedly, according to Trump, we have more oil under Alaska and more than Canada. We've got control of Venezuela. We have more oil than anybody in the world. But we still are running out of oil and our gas prices are going through the roof. So that lie is coming home to roost. It's clearly not true.
great question. But it's also one of the biggest misconceptions in our country. Yes, Malaysia pumps crude oil out of the ground
What kind of
and
oil?
we sell crude oil overseas. And the truth is, Malaysia actually buys refined fuel from the global market for our own domestic use. And that includes RON 95 petrol that you pump every single week. And that exposes us to a terrible mathematical trap. As of our recording right now, the true unsubsidized market price for RON 95
Okay. Wow. Whoa. Jeez. That's not good. This is trouble, guys. Because the Malaysians, you guys are so used to subsidized oil. It's not only are you going to have to deal with higher priced oil, but it's no longer going to be subsidized. Well, where does all the government's money come from? Do they have a lot of money tied up in things that they just can't pull out of? Like, what's this situation based on?
has hit 2 ringgit and 67 cents per litre, But you and I, as a Malaysian, is only paying RM1.99. All this is thanks to the Budi 95
Such a good
initiative.
deal.
Our Malaysian government is quietly standing at the petrol station with you when the war in the Middle East pushes global oil price higher. This is a painful reality of what is happening to our national piggy bank. When global oil price increased by $10 a barrel, yes, Malaysia earned an extra 2.5 billion to 3.5 billion from selling our crude oil. It sounds like a win, right? But remember, we have to buy back the more expensive refined oil to keep that RM1.99 promise alive.
So you don't have all of the refineries that some of these other countries have. Interesting. And then you also have to take into consideration that there are a plethora of international companies that are all throughout the malls and the businesses of Malaysia. Almost nothing in comparison to what they would pay the typical employee in the West. So again, who's at fault here? A lot of these, not just American companies, but European companies who are basically taking advantage of the fact that Malaysians have a lower cost of living overall, so they're paying them less. Where if you guys were getting paid like a normal amount of money, then it wouldn't be as much of an issue.
That same 10
It
US
just
dollar
compounds the
price
problem.
jump can cost our government extra 3.5 billion ringgit to 5.1 billion ringgit in subsidy. So our government actually loses money every time an oil price spikes. And this brings us to the elephant in the room, Petronas.
Right.
You see, for decades,
Yeah.
Malaysia government has somewhat viewed Petronas as an endless ATM for the country.
True.
But the truth is that ATM is going to start to run dry. Our national oil revenue was already shrinking before this war even started. Now, in 2026, it is projected to drop to just 43 billion ringgit, a 30% decline from 2025. The dividend that Petronas pays to the government is expected to fall just below 20 billion in 2026. To put all that into perspective, back in 2009, our oil money made up a massive 41.3% of our government's entire
That's a
revenue.
lot.
Today, it is estimated by 2026 it will only make up 12.5%. So what happens when the government's revenue is shrinking, but its spending on fuel subsidy that is aggressively increasing because of a war that's across the world? This will create a massive budget deficit. Our government know that they are bleeding cash. Our Prime Minister,
How
Dato'
long
Sri
do they
Anwar
float
Ibrahim,
this issue?
recently had to address the nation about this exact crisis. And he
Ibrahim.
was brutally honest, saying we will give the maximum effort to hold off the raising price, but the market is beyond our control. And we cannot guarantee that there won't be any price increase.
At the University of Arizona
what do you
Global
guys
Campus, we are proud to offer.
That's wild. This is really going to be a big problem. Like, luckily, the Malaysian economy isn't so heavily weighted towards Petronas anymore, but still, it's a massive percentage. And sorry, you guys got to watch commercials with me. I'm not giving YouTube any more money, right? Guy, it's ridiculous. Hope you guys are having a great day.
If our government hits its limit and that RM1.99 petrol subsidy can't be supported, well, everything is going to change, because when fuel price becomes more expensive, everything that relies on transportation will become more expensive.
Bye-bye
Think
to
about
those
what
cheap
you bought
grabs,
at the
guys.
supermarket last week. The rice, the cooking oil, the flour, the sugar, and the vegetable. All those things are going to increase in price. And did you know that Malaysia import roughly about 90% of our food item, including seeds that grow our fruit?
That is wild. I didn't know that. 90%. You guys have such an amazing environment and soil quality. Like, what is going on? This is absurd. 90%, guys? Come on now. I think Malaysia's in a prime opportunity to pivot towards more food production. And I know a lot of the landscape is, you can grow a lot of durian, for example. Like, do we really need that much durian being grown? Just take like half the land that all these durian farmers are growing on and put some greenhouses on there, and you guys are going to be rocking and rolling and supporting the entire region with the amount of food you could produce. Your environment is pristine.
And vegetable. We even import our fertilizer, we import our animal feed. So when global shipping costs explode, all these costs, it's gonna travel straight to your pocket. making everything more expensive. So economists have already warned that inflation is expected to drift upwards towards 2.2% by the end of this year. And this is driven almost entirely by food and transportation.
But remember, guys, it wasn't too long ago in history that people did not use fertilizer to grow food. All homes, everybody that had the ability, had a little bit of land, had room to do so in their communities, everybody was growing food, had gardens. You know, it wasn't that long ago before this system was transitioned to this petroleum-based economy where like fertilizers and plastics and just the textile industry, everything was transformed overnight. And remember whose scientists were the ones that made this happen? World War II, ring a bell? Where did all these NAZIs go? They went to the United States and Russia. So, you know, it's not like they just disappeared or were thrown into jail overnight. No, a lot of these top scientists, they're the ones who, you know, revolutionized the economy and manufacturing of these plastics and these fertilizers and spread that across the world like some kind of sick disease. We can get away from that. Get back to traditional farming, composting, and forest restoration, soil restoration. You know, there is a way to make this work. It's going to take a lot of effort and a lot of elbow grease, but I believe in the people of Malaysia and the people of the world. We're peace builders. We don't have to fight our way out of this situation. We just need to change the way we look at things.
Costs. Now, 2.2% may sound small on paper, but when you apply that to your entire monthly grocery bill, your Grab rides, your utility, even your children's school supply, you will feel that your money is going to buy less and less every single month. So at the end of the day, this war all the way in the Middle East, it's going to affect our lifestyle quite a bit. In times of global panic, investors are terrified, and when they get terrified, they will also take their money out of emerging market like Malaysia and switch their money into safe haven assets, such as traditionally the US dollar. Now, because of this, Malaysian ringgit could weaken. Remember that strength of Malaysian ringgit at 3 ringgit and 95 cents against the dollar? Well, that could change. Malaysia is a trading nation and our economy is incredibly open. We have a trade of over 3 trillion ringgit a year with the world, and we manufacture stuff like semiconductor, electronics, palm oil, and we sell them all globally.
Hey guys, stop producing palm oil. Again, like this is something that is not okay for the economy, not okay for the human body. We don't need to be ingesting this stuff. We don't need to be washing ourselves with it. We need to destroy the palm oil plantations and start growing real food on them. What is this? It's so backwards. This is just industrial nightmare fuel right here. Of course there's going to be a struggle because you're growing a bunch of stuff that is not necessary for the development of human life. Like, this needs to change. Palm oil? What does palm oil do for you? It's absurd. It's a racket.
The United States is one of our largest trading partners, accounting for about 13% of our total export. But because of this global uncertainty and the rising cost of shipping, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, has officially downgraded Malaysia's economic growth projection from 4.6% in 2025 down to 4.3% in 2026. And what does that even mean? It means our Malaysian factories are projected to produce less this year. Our company could be hiring fewer people, and businesses could freeze salary just to survive this economic condition. And eventually, maybe some companies will start laying people off.
And that's not even taking into consideration the AI boom and the robotic boom that is bound to also impact Malaysia. So I understand there are a lot of jobs that are in the tech sector now. You know, you look at KL, there's a lot of companies that are going to be pivoting away from human labor over this next year, the 3, 5, 6, 7 years. It's not looking good.
Anyway, my point is the Middle East war could trigger a global recession, and if that happens, Malaysia can get hit real hard. I mean, think back in 1997 and 2008. That's when Malaysia really saw job losses and our savings just vanish.
It's time to pivot, baby.
So what can we do about it? Well, let's start by talking about the government. I would say the Malaysian government is already trying its best. They are diversifying our trade routes, increasing ASEAN trade, encouraging domestic food production, and desperately trying to maintain diplomatic relationship to keep our economy flowing. But here's the thing. All good policies take time to take effect for us to feel those positive effects of it. But for negative stuff, well, the impact comes real fast. Just like we are feeling it right now or even in the next few months. But there's something we can do, which is to prepare ourselves. I would say now is probably the time to start reviewing your expenses. Cut what doesn't matter. And if you have been thinking about getting a loan, well, think twice. And if you're an investor, you might be wondering what to do with your money right now. I have to say this, during a geopolitical crisis, it's easy to make panic decisions because of all these different market rumors. So, do not rush into investment blindly, do it with cautions. But here's the thing, you also do not want to leave your cash sitting completely idle where it just gets eaten up by inflation. In fact, in highly uncertain times, capital preservation is our primary task. So, for many people at this time, cash is king, but where you hold that cash matters. This is where having the right financial platform is crucial. Instead of forcing yourself to take risky trades to earn some money, well, you can park your idle funds in tools like Mumu's Cash Plus, which gives a returns of up to about 6% per annum. And by doing that, your money can generate a stable interest yield while the market direction remain unclear. So essentially, you are getting paid for waiting.
Doesn't sound like he's really going to give you guys like reasonable advice. I think it's time to just relook the entire way you live your life. Not just like stop buying materialistic goods, but like transform your life by getting your hands dirty again, growing your own food if you can, move back out into the nature, to places where you have a space to get some goats and drink some goat milk and raise your family in the wild, like where things are a little slower. Get away from the cities. Eat fresh food again, grow your own vegetables, your own fruits, and live a more traditional life like our ancestors did. We don't always have to be chasing more money or trying to find some kind of investment that's going to win or the next app to put our money into. No, it's about transforming your life and going after the things that matter most and spending more time with the people that you love and preparing yourself for a different type of world coming out of this, because ultimately that's our only way forward. Spread peace, spread love, stop pointing the finger at people that you hate. Find reasons why to connect to your neighbors and your family members that you maybe have lost connection to. That is a true call to action. Not park your money in some Moo app or put your dollars to use in some investment that's going to work out. No, get out there and live a simple life and spread love, spread peace, and get back to the arts. Have fun, like paint. Enjoy life, guys. Jump on YouTube, make a YouTube channel talking about your life and your perspective, because it's invaluable to those around you.
Out a storm, and more importantly, it helps you preserve some dry powder lah, meaning the market will eventually oversell, and when this panic fade, you have your capital ready and liquidity to buy in the dip at the perfect time. And of course, since we are partnered with Mumu, you can also use our code MMTV40 to unlock some special reward up to 2,100 ringgit. But remember to search for the special deposit and click join now, then fill in our exclusive code MMTV40 to unlock those rewards. So while you're waiting for those opportunities, you need to stay updated with news, and here's where Mumu has this 24/7 rolling news and community feature to track some real-time macroeconomic data and follow actual trends without letting emotions dictate your next move. Perhaps now is the time to scoop up some discounted good value stocks that are affected by the current situation, but when this current situation goes away, their value will be fully realized. So when all the dust settles, you're gonna come out of it the other end slightly richer. A war could be happening thousands of kilometers away, and it feels like it's so far away
becoming richer is not about having more money, guys. Becoming richer is about having a more fulfilling life. You know, we're the year of the fire horse, okay? And this is going to be a big change. Changes that we can't even anticipate coming are going to come rolling into our lives. Like, our reliance on oil is going to completely change. There are going to be electric vehicles from, like, planes, trains, automobiles. Everything's going to change, you know. Get out there and enjoy life in a different way. That is how you have a richer life, not necessarily heavier pockets.
From us, and it should not bother us. But here's the thing, in this world today where everything is so connected, any conflict, no matter how far away, it will affect us, at least economically. The world is not ending, but here's the thing, the world is changing, and it's changing really fast. And the best way that we can protect ourselves is to be prepared, and be prepared financially.
You know, he just want to promote the MoMA. Yeah, I know. I think that's not the best way to go forward in life. You know, that's not the best advice. We need to change the way we live our lives. You know, grow food, be artistic again. You know, share our problems with our neighbors, connect, be the change we wish to see in the world. You know, we don't need to continue to live this life, this post-World War II industrial war complex where it's just nonstop me, all about me. We're not all the main character in this game. You know, we're playing in this server together, right? And it's time we change it from the inside out through our actions and our love for the world. We're peace builders, baby. That's what I'm talking about. But thanks for joining me, Mr. Money TV. I'll be interested to see what he has to say. I believe he's Malaysian, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. You know, I do like his point of view, although I disagree with some of it. Give him that like if you did like the video. And I'll see you guys in the next one, all right?